Yes, happy Friday, everybody. Producers Club, our weekly showtime with our amazing people, um, leaders, producers, agents. And today I have the pleasure to host and hear from Amee Skutvik. Amee, the queen of Tehachapi.
Queen of Tehachapi.
How are you, Amee?
Good morning.
Good morning. So first of all, right, before we're gonna kind of dive deep into like your being and how you started and all the good stuff, tell us a little bit more about tell us a bit about Tehachapi, that area, where it is.
I know it's kind of it's Central California, about 2 hours north of Los Angeles. And it's about an hour out of Bakersfield and an hour out of the Antelope Valley. So right at the central portion of the Sierras. It's a growing community. I think we were number 14 for growth last year. It's made up of about 5 different communities. So you have Bear Valley Springs, which is kind of a gated community, and some outlying communities that also are kind of off on their own, away from the city limits. So it's an interesting spot for sure. It's definitely different. Appraisers can have a nightmare when they come to appraise here because nothing's the same, but it is a beautiful place. So it's attracting a lot of attention these days with the wineries and things.
Right. And as you mentioned, you guys experienced like a massive growth during the COVID years, the pandemic years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hear more about that. So tell us first, kind of the Amee story, right? Going back, even before you started real estate, and then how you evolved into becoming a realtor.
Okay. Well, I came from radio. That was kind of where this journey began. I was working in radio for Clear Channel, and then booking bands for AV Entertainment and a company called Vision Records. So that was the beginning of the whole thing. I went into a lender's office to book him. He plays some smaller gigs. And I went in to go get a contract signed. And he told me I should be in real estate. And it evolved from there. Like, this lender placed me with the owner of his company, who interviewed me for a couple hours and was willing to go ahead and invest money to help me leave the radio industry and get my license. So it propelled my career, let's put it that way. And it was a huge help because I was a single mom, just kind of, getting through the whole radio thing. And believe it or not, real estate freed up my time more so than even radio. So I had more time with my kids in real estate than I did in radio, which is hard to believe, but true. So.
And we're not gonna put an 8 stamp to it, but what year did you get licensed? Did you get into the business?
I got into the business in 21, right before 9/11 is when I started working with the broker, kind of learning the business. I was in the process of getting my license. And then my license, I think, hit in September of 2002 is when I formally got my license, right? So my first 3 years, I was pretty much doing construction projects, not so much even from the real estate side, but my own projects. So that took up a ton of my time. So I've seen the different side of the industry. Like, in the beginning, it brought me in different, right? And then from there, I went to work at a small boutique company. And that's when we started to hear kind of the rumble about a crash, but nothing had really happened yet. So I had a chance to at least get my feet wet and benefit from walk-ins and starting to build a sphere, because the community was new to me, honestly. I mean, I hadn't really been here for long. When you look at the fact that I was building these houses, I wasn't like in the business. And then when the market turned, thankfully I was green enough to not be scared of the market turning, right? I knew enough. I knew just enough. I knew that we were heading for a turn, but I knew I needed to do whatever I could in order to sustain what business I was doing. And I just put my head down. Really, I did. I just put my head down and I got to work. And then when it was prior to short sales, nobody was really wanting to tackle those short sales. But I knew in order to sustain, I was going to have to do them. So I jumped in like with 2 feet and I learned short sales, and they sustained me through the crazy time. They really did. As hard as that is to believe, it was painful, really painful. But I got to where, on top of doing the short sales, I was in a great position to work on building my business because the phones weren't ringing as much, right? So, I would spend literally, at least the 8 hours a day at the office. And the whole time I was growing my sphere, growing my business, and doing it kind of without me even realizing what I was doing. I just knew that I was going to have to work hard in order to be able to make a living. But once the crash stopped, it propelled me forward. For one, a lot of agents that weren't willing to work did get out of the business. And two, I'd established a great rapport for the fact that I genuinely wanted to help these people, and I took the time to do it. So even some we couldn't get there at the time, we're able to buy later on down the line, which has made a huge difference, watching, like there's some families now I've helped their kids and watch these little ones grow up, which is really cool. But it was mainly just putting my head down and accepting the fact that there was only certain parts of it I could control, and realizing that as everybody I know is aware, the media fuels it. So by me not being one to watch the media, it took the negative chatter out of my head, and just let me move it forward. And I'm kind of looking forward to that again, Meny. Honestly, I'm looking forward to being able to just, delve in and grow it at a time when it's been a little more difficult, so it'll be an interesting experience to see what happens this go round,
Yeah, awesome. Again, that was Amee in a nutshell. So taking you back the first year, right? So you definitely had kind of a different entry to the industry as a someone who did construction, built, etc. But then as I heard, as you mentioned, like 3 years more or less, then you kind of transition into the resale, right? The brokerage side.
Right.
So when did you have, what did you experience the breakthrough really? Was that due to the short sales? I mean, the amount of the volume and the sales, or that was only post that crazy market that was back then?
I think in the very beginning, it was mainly just, obviously just building my business, and we hadn't really experienced the full crash. But in all honesty, we knew we were heading that way. So it was one of those things where in the back of my mind, I knew, okay, it's coming, something bad's going to happen, but I wasn't sure exactly to what extent. So prior to the crash, it was mainly just building, since I didn't have anywhere to go. I mean, I didn't grow up in this community. It's not like I had a whole lot of friends or family or anything here at first. A lot of them have moved here since then, but I didn't really have a lot of people here. So just simply being in the office and being present, and I was fortunate to follow in an office that had a lot of producing agents. And when people would get to that office, they didn't typically leave, right? Because it was, the only one, small town, in the one community I was in anyway. And they didn't leave. So I got to listen to a lot of people with a high level of success in the very beginning. So that was in the background. I wasn't set up to fail by being thrown into a place that didn't allow for that opportunity, which made a difference. But then just realizing that I was going to have to treat this like any other job, and not go home early or take time off when it wasn't warranted, that type of thing,
Where did you get that discipline from, right? You just said something so important. You said, then I realized this is like a real job, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, okay. So, for me, it's always been a real job. I have when it comes to like my whole backstory, I'm not like this highly educated person that has, 4 or 5 different options as far as a degree goes, right? So, and I knew the only way for me to be able to obtain the lifestyle that I would like to live was for me to be in a business with limitless opportunity, right? Where I could make what I wanted. And the lender that came to me, Dan, was a godsend because in all honesty, until I met Dan, I never thought about real estate. It was radio, and radio was also commission based. But in radio, I also had to collect the bill if somebody didn't pay. So on top of being strictly commission based, if people don't pay the bill, they're going to take your check. At the end of the day, it's coming out of your check. So, by Dan just simply bringing me into the office and recognizing that there was some level of potential, it kind of changed the course. But I've never known it not, I've never had the ability to not look at this as a real job, right? Because I never had that like safety net that if this doesn't work out, there's another plan, or I'll just go back and do something else. That was never an option. So I think the mindset of that is completely different. You know, I think the hardest part, not really the hardest part, but one thing that's difficult is you get so many naysayers when you start out, right? Like, oh my gosh, you're not going to be able to do this. It's commission based. You are going to need, to work a regular 9 to 5, collect a paycheck. And that's never been me. Like, that's never been something that appeals to me. I get way too bored in that type of environment, Um, even in my 20s, I was hired by a really good company and I couldn't do it. I can't sit in a desk and not have something new to work on. So I walked away from that. That was an aerospace company. Walked away from that and jumped into commission-based sales, just knowing that it offered me more, right? So yeah, I took away the safety net and it's not ever been an option. So yeah.
just a point to make, right? Took up
Right.
safety nets, and this is the only option that we have. I love that.
Right. Right. And I was excited about it. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is the only option. Because if I had that attitude, I would not have made it. There's no way you can do this job successfully and not be authentic. You can't. People read through that, and no one wants to be in business with somebody who isn't coming from a good, solid place or doing it for the right reason. And and even in the worst of it, it was really important to me that my clients, even if they're going through this horrible thing, losing their homes and going through all of this, that they could kind of lean on me. And thankfully, in you envelop those clients, but you develop the strength to kind of hold them up and keep them going. And then at the end of the day, once they're through it, they remember you and they come back, right? I'm right now, I'm at a point where growing my team, I'm out there looking for new business all of the time, but yet at the same time, my sphere, even through the years, has taken me on. My raving fans from way back then still come back around, and it's the bulk of my business. So it made a difference. It really helped me grow and sustain just going through the turmoil of 2007.
So a few questions for you, Karam. Taking to a different path.
Okay.
How many homes did you sell last year?
Oh gosh, Meny. I don't know.
Approximately.
Um, I don't know, 50, somewhere around there, somewhere
Right.
around that
Eh,
mark.
Right. And that's your average today, right?
Yes.
Every year,
Yeah, that's
50,
kind of the
60 homes.
baseline. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm going to repeat this to whoever is listening, whoever's going to watch later on. It's 50 homes a year in the Tehachapi area, not just in Tehachapi, but
Right.
mainly,
Yeah.
which is pretty impressive, Amee. And your today, your business is even more advanced in a sense of how it's structured, because you actually your hub is the KW South Bay, right?
Right. Which has been the best thing for me, honestly.
Yeah. So now I'm going to ask you, because you kind of were ahead of me.
Sorry.
But no, it's perfect. Talking about kind of the structure and the team and what you're looking for, right? Because
Right.
you're thinking differently, right?
Right. Right. I am
Um,
thinking different.
Yeah. So tell us more about that. But before, I'm going to ask you to show off, and we're going to compare notes. We're going to compare T-shirts.
Oh,
What is it? Your
mine's
T-shirt says?
the old one. Mine's the new results, new mindset.
New mindset, new results. I love that.
Yeah. I'm looking upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So tell us more about your structure. And again, like, how did this mindset evolve throughout the years? Because we tend to, if we're new in something or been doing something successfully for a long time, what have you, just to get stuck on something like, it worked great. I don't want to touch it. Don't want to change it. You have a different attitude. Tell us more about that.
Right. Well, once again, it starts with the fact that I've known for a long time that this is really it for me, right? So I can only do so much on my own. And though I don't ever see myself out of real estate, that's never going to happen. I want it to evolve to where the lifestyle that I have and what I'm continuing to want to build can be sustained by not just me, by a really good supportive team, that's loyal enough and in it for the long haul, but so I can grow others to do it the way that I'm doing it. I feel like there's a lot of really good agents out there, and then there's some that probably aren't getting, maybe, I don't know if you want to even call it training, but it's not like they have a strong mentor that they can count on, right? So if I bring something to the table that maybe is a little bit unique and allows them a little bit more freedom, then maybe they'll grow from it, and in turn I grow from it. It's funny, I've had a few people that have walked away and thought, okay, I'm going to go out on my own and do this. And many, they're still calling me for help. And I love it. I'm fine with that, right? Like, I'm not one of those people. It's like, well, you left, so why would I help you? But it does. If every time I think about that, it just kind of makes me smile, because obviously they're finding value, or they wouldn't reach out in that kind of a way. But yeah, so as far as the structure goes, right now I have I'll call her licensed assistant. She also does work her own buyers, and she's working out great. She is at my physical office space in Tehachapi 3 to 4 days a week, and then works from home 2 days. And I have a VA in the Philippines that's heading up a lot of the social and things in that direction, handling a bunch of advertising and things like that. Right now, my assistant's also handling my files, which has worked out well, because she's right there, and I do require somebody in my face, like, at all times, in order to get them clear, right? So that's worked out really well. And I've picked up 2 new agents, one who's actually in Orange County. She hasn't been able to get her feet too wet yet, but she will. She's got her first deal right now, so that's good. And then another new agent. So the structure I'm doing is a little bit different in the fact that during COVID, we're all working from home. So not having to go to the office and recruit agents for a physical team kind of changed. And I thought, okay, if everybody can be at home and do so much virtually, why can't I do, like, I don't know, I would refer to it kind of as more of an expansion group, like a small expansion group, right? Which is where I can put somebody in Orange County and have somebody that specializes in Bakersfield, and cover a lot of territory, and diversify it a little bit, right? Because it is a small town, and I'm not, I don't have a huge pool of agents to pull from in a small town. I know that comes, especially, like, I just picked up Amanda, and it will happen, but there's a lot more opportunity for me now post-COVID than there was before. So.
Yeah, and I love that. And the reason I ask you is because, number one, to make sure that people understand that on the entry level side, right, or where you start your business but you get stuck, is that there's amazing people like yourself that have been doing this for a long time successfully, and went through the hardship and the challenges and what have you, that can be a great mentor, right?
Right.
As a team lead. So it doesn't have to be someone that is right here next to me. We've learned the last 2 years that it can be from everywhere and anywhere at any time.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And again, I mean, the fact that you by yourself selling about 50 units a year consistently, that just shows some level of skill that it's in a mastery level. So it's something to look up for, right? Look up to.
Which still blows me away, because to me, I'm just doing it and I always want more, right? So whenever you say that, I'm like kind of taken back by that. But
Right.
yeah.
But at the same time, we and it spoke about in the past, it's important to know your numbers, right? Your numbers and
Right.
because
Yeah.
that's the key. It can be uncomfortable sometimes, but that's just what it is.
Right. I know. And I haven't been, I used to keep them on my board. I have a board here in the office and the board's been erased. And even my maps coach said the other day, he asked me that question and he goes, do you realize like where you are now versus like even this time last year? Because last year was a challenge. My dad died and I was dealing with that the first part of the year. So a lot of the stuff I did even was kind of more of a team effort, I guess you could say, right? So last year was tough. That's where I get my years all kind of mixed up. But he had to tell me what my numbers were, and that's really bad, man. Like I should have them each deal on the board, knowing exactly where I am. But I've just been like trudging forward, and every week he fills me in, like, all right, well, here you are. That's why I guess I have him in a certain sense, But
Amy, if you had to coach us, right, and tell us about how to master that skill of sphere, right?
right, yeah.
Give us some kind of words of wisdom.
Well, for me, I've not ever been out to sell them anything. That's my attitude. I consider myself, if I'm dealing with a buyer, I'm a house hostess, right? I am not there. The house is going to sell itself when it's right for them. So I think listening is probably your biggest thing. I've heard agents come and go through offices that walk in and they have this attitude like, oh, they're going to buy this house, or I'm going to show them one of three. Okay, well, that's kind of arrogant, but it's up to them. I want to get to know them and what they like. And then after a little bit of time, then I can say, you know what, this will be a waste of time. And they're going to trust me, right? But I think the main thing is being able to listen to them and what their needs are in the very beginning, and not be so desperate to close a deal that you turn them away. Because my mindset has always been, they may not buy today or tomorrow, but they're a buyer in the future. They're going to buy something sooner or later. And whether it's now or 4 years from now, I want them to buy it from me, right? So I'm not out to twist anybody's arm, to talk them into anything, to tell them why one is better than the other, unless they ask my opinion, right? I mean, I'll tell them, well, resale wise, you're probably going to have to replace the roof, but I'm not out to strong arm anybody into anything. And that trust is what sustained me, I think, and it can be a bit draining when you're more the marriage counselor than you are just the realtor, but
Right.
It's important, so
Yeah.
I think that's done it. Just trust.
I love that. I do think, again, it's what I keep saying, that it's more of a lifestyle that you maintain, right?
Yeah.
Versus like a 9 to 4 type of a job.
Right. Yeah. You can't just shut it off. I have gotten much better over the years of protecting my own time, which is something at first I never did. And that was a mistake. I mean, because my kids were little. So there's a lot of things that I missed by not having certain boundaries in play. But with the way the structures are now, it allows that freedom, even for a new agent, to kind of say, okay, you know what, from 3 to 5, I got to go get my kid from school and then go drop him off, and not, it's just changed a little bit. You at least have a little more flexibility than what we used to, right? prior
Were
to
you,
texting and stuff.
were you able to transition that attitude and practice by protecting your time, as you just mentioned, by adapting the no attitude, meaning to say more of the no, or just by accommodating your clients in a just different way?
I'd say accommodating them in a different way. If I have to say no, I'll say no. But for the most part, I don't want to tell them no. If I can't do it for whatever reason, I will find someone that can help me do it. And it may cost me 50%, but they're going to come back to me. Right. So, and it's building trust and loyalty with my peers, which has been a big thing, especially in a small town, because there is a certain scarcity mindset, right? That you're allowing an outsider to come in and now they're taking your business. I had a huge problem with that in the very beginning. That was tough to overcome. They were not the most warm and fuzzy group of people to start out with. It's just different. I don't know. Maybe it's not different. Maybe you would say it's the same. Even down, maybe in the South Bay area, they have the same kind of an issue. But for us, it's definitely been something. I gave a deal away because the agent wasn't going to pay me a commission because I hadn't joined the local board yet. So there's no way she's going to double in this. And so I gave it to an agent, and then that agent and I developed a rapport, and it's stuck over the years, so I think you just have to think things through and don't react on emotions so much when you're hit with that, and find a solution to make them come back to you. But if they can't, if you simply can't do it, you're going to be out of town, that's fine. Just hold on to them and make sure they're taken care of with the right person. So
Well, that's a great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you have are you in coaching currently? Any kind
I
of
am.
yeah.
Yeah.
What kind?
Maps.
Maps?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the coach?
Alan Strange.
Alan
He's out of
Strange.
Colorado. Yeah.
Okay. That's a good name to be a coach, Alan Strange.
I know, huh?
How long have you been in coaching?
Oh my gosh. Since probably 2012.
Wow.
I think I came to KW in 2010 or 11, right in there. And it was like a year after I got a coach, and I've had some great coaches.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a huge difference, especially
What
because
way?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Because I'm so remote and I hate to say removed, because if I lived close, I'd be in the office every day. Right. But it makes a difference for me to have that accountability with him every week. And he runs a really good, successful team. So I pick his brain all the time. Well, what are you guys doing? Well, how did you overcome that? And he's open to share, which is awesome. And I know that's their job. I get it. But at the same time, even though he has a team and is still running his team, he's comes from a different mindset. It's not that scarcity that he's not willing to share, which has been really helpful. It makes a huge difference just to have someone that you have to report to. And thank God for him, right? Because he knows more about my numbers than I do right now. Every week, he's like, okay, here's where we are. And off I go. So, it helps a lot.
Yeah, and he also been very intentional and purposeful. I don't know if you interviewed him before or it just happened to be like that, but first of all, by having a coach or a mentor, a guide, right, someone who's keep you in check all the time. So whoever's listening, like, you have to have someone in that capacity, either accountability partner, or if you want to go to the next level, as a coach. And that coach as well, Amy, is someone that it can be like a business partner, right? Like someone who's doing the same things as you do, technically.
Oh yeah, totally. And to have somebody who's been successful at it. And I think a lot of Alan's strengths are my shortcomings, right? Which really helps a lot. So he does a really good job of like reeling me back in, if I'm having a mindset day, he's out to fix it. We joke, I have an alter ego, Alice, that when the day's not so good and he hears my voice, he knows I'm talking to Alice today. This is the wrong person, but all of that just really makes a big difference. It gets me back on track, and you could spiral out of control. One bad day And it could totally change the trajectory of the rest of your month if you're not willing to get up the next day and start over, right? And that's difficult when you don't know, whether something's going to close or, it takes a lot of pressure off having Alan. So,
yeah, awesome. I shared Amy's email and phone on the chat because you already have potential agent that might reach out to you. Jessica, she's awesome. She's in the Valley area.
okay.
She's might have a buyers looking to buy something in that area, etc., etc. So definitely reach out. So give us the pitch, Amy. I'm going up to the 6th floor. You're going to the 7th floor in the elevator. 60 seconds. Like, why Tehachapi?
It literally is the best place you can be in California and be within 2 to 3 hours of major cities or destinations. I'm 3 hours from Paso. I'm 3 hours from Bishop. I'm about 3.5 to Vegas. So we're centrally located, but it's a very small, tight-knit country style community, right? Bear Valley Springs is by far my favorite. I've lived here the whole time, but the wildlife's all protected, and it's just a slower pace. When you hit the gate of Bear Valley, and you're going to see Meny when you get through the gate this time, everything slows down, right? Everything slows down. It kind of reminds me of Ojai. If you picture Ojai, just a very affordable Ojai. The horse trails are protected. So we have 50 miles of horse trails, and we get a lot of people who have horses that don't have anywhere to go anymore because the trails are being taken up by new housing, right? So between the horses and there's a golf course, and it's like living in your own retirement kind of vacation destination, if that makes sense. Every day, people tell me all the time, "Oh my gosh, where you live, it's just beautiful. There's no reason for you to come go on vacation." Somebody told me that yesterday because I said, "Well, I kind of like to get away," and they're like, "Why? Live on vacation?" And that's kind of the way that it is here. So
Yeah,
I don't lock my car, Meny. I left keys in my car overnight the other day. I forgot. So
yeah.
it's just
Well,
different.
it's on a safer side. It's beautiful in the winter. It's snowing and different scenery. It's pretty gorgeous out there. What's the average price point, by the way?
Right now we're at about 517 for the average. That's coming down. I know, and that's where it's like, okay, well, I might do 50 deals, but my 50 deals are not the same as like South Bay. Like I have to hustle for that, right? So I don't know. But at any rate, it's a very low affordable.
Well, I mean, yeah, you definitely get the ROI over there, lifestyle wise for $500,000 for sure, compared to our overpriced real estate down here. So
yeah, for sure.
Amy, it's been awesome to dive deeper, get to know you, whoever is listening. We kind of passed our 30-minute mark, but we're gonna have more of those things. Oh, by the way, one more thing, just to give you a shout out, Amy is also on the IALC, which is the international ALC member, part of the board, but she's like on a nationwide level. So also thank you for doing that, part of all the other stuff that you do for our community.
Thank you.
Yeah, Amee Skutvik, pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Meny.